Hey guys, what's going on? Back here for another game review, and this is a game that I was really excited about. If you guys couldn't tell by the title screen, I am here to review Marvel's Avengers. This game was announced back in 2017, but it feels so much longer than that. This was co-developed by Crystal Dynamics, the same team behind the new Tomb Raider games, to which, if y'all haven't played those games, play them. I've played the first one, the one that came back in 2013, and then Rise, which are terrific games, and Eidos Montreal, I believe that's how you pronounce the studio's name, the team behind Hitman. So from those teams alone, I was thrilled to see what they could make of this. And now that the game is out, let's talk about it. So, how do I feel about Marvel's Avengers? If I'm being 100% honest, I was disappointed by this game. Did I have fun? Yes and no. But disappointed? Absolutely. Getting into the plot, Marvel's Avengers has an original story in which after an event called A-Day, the Avengers have been separated due to someone being presumed dead and the Avengers being blamed due to the events that happened. Cut to 5 years later, and someone who was at the event, Kamala Khan aka Miss Marvel, is on a quest to find out what actually happened and to hopefully reunite the Avengers. Getting into everything I liked, let me start off with the plot. The story is very well done for the most part. I loved a lot of the smaller character moments. One in particular with Kamala and Cap, that was a moment that just put a big smile on my face. Honestly, Kamala Khan is the heart of this game, and her story I loved. The moments with her and Bruce Banner in particular, I just loved every moment of. And one part I will say between Kamala Khan and Bruce had me giggling. And I will say this as well, the story that Crystal Dynamics came up with is damn good. And one part of it kind of reminded me of Captain America Civil War in a very small way. And also, I gotta say, man, the bigger moments where the Avengers are fighting together, in particular near the end of the game, are just special. And hearing them banter together are some of my favorite moments during those set pieces, and honestly, the entire game as well. Another thing that I gotta talk about as well is the voice acting. The voice cast here is damn excellent. Nolan North as Tony Stark / Iron Man, Troy Baker as Bruce Banner, Laura Bailey as Black Widow, Travis Willingham as Thor, Jeff Shine as Captain America, and Sandra Sad as Kamala Khan. All of them are not only terrific in their roles, but they each bring something new to the characters. But if I were to pick my favorites, Nolan North as Iron Man, of course, I mean it's Nolan North, was damn near perfect. Now, of course, when you hear Nolan North, you probably think of course, Nathan Drake from Uncharted, but every time I heard dialogue from him, it was dialogue that I could honestly hear Robert Downey Jr. saying. I loved how Troy Baker played the grieving and more conflicted Hulk, well, I should say Bruce Banner. Troy Baker brought something really special to Bruce Banner this time around. Jeff Shine was great as Cap. I loved the attitude that Laura Bailey brought to Black Widow. I had a ton of fun hearing Travis Willingham's more operatic take on Thor, and Sandra Sad brought a lot of heart and charm to Kamala Khan. Now, yes, this main cast will never take over the Avengers from the MCU, but for this game in particular, the cast that we have here does a damn good job. For the most part, something else that I did like was the look of the game. The footage that you're seeing is captured from a PS4 Pro, but I will say that, like I mentioned just a few seconds ago, Avengers does look good, but I will have more to say about that in a little bit. Textures and faces look very good, the costumes look absolutely excellent, although I am very curious to see how it looks on a PS5 with the upgrades. But as far as the PS4 Pro goes, I don't know how it looks on a baseline PS4, but as far as the Pro version goes, it looks pretty decent to pretty good. Also, the combat is damn good, and once again, I will say more about this in a little bit, but the combat for the most part is a lot of fun. I feel like that the variety between the heroes and their fighting styles does make up for the combat for the most part. Either flying around or blasting people as Iron Man, smashing enemies as the Hulk, quite literally, throwing Cap's shield, brawling as Black Widow, using Thor's hammer, and using Kamala's stretching arms and legs. Sure, it does involve a lot of button smashing, but like I just mentioned, playing as each hero, well, minus one sort of, was still a lot of fun. Now, one thing that I can't really comment on yet is multiplayer, but I will say that being able to play with your friends as the Avengers is pretty amazing. And something else I will say is the musical score of the game is damn good too. Now on to everything else. Like I mentioned, Avengers, while I did have fun, I can't deny that the game did disappoint me in more ways than one. Starting off with the actual campaign, the story itself was very good, but it's everything else surrounding the story. The campaign itself seemed so much shorter than it actually was, and it's also said that the campaign of the game is 10 to 12 hours long. Honestly, it didn't seem even close to 10 hours. It felt closer to 6 to 7 hours if I'm being honest. And it's probably because I was only doing story missions. Now, there are other missions that you can do within the campaign, but I honestly didn't really care about doing those missions because they just seemed like doing pointless filler to not only get more game time, but for the sake of grinding your character, because besides the story missions, you're just doing missions to which you're either rescuing people from S.H.I.E.L.D. or just capturing control points. That's really what you're doing. I got along the game just fine without doing the side missions, and I think I died maybe 4 times, but then again, I was only playing on normal mode. And by the way, guys, there is post-campaign stuff that you can do. Like, for example, if you guys didn't do side missions while you're doing story missions, you can go back to them. And there's also multiplayer content called Avengers Initiative, to where you can, like I mentioned before, you can team up with your buddies as the Avengers. But here's the thing, when it comes to the post-campaign content, it's just mission after mission after mission, and for the most part, it's the same thing. And keep in mind, guys, that this is a games as a service game, and that kind of turned me off from doing more missions once I beat the game. And the biggest bummer is that this game doesn't have any lasting value, nor do I see myself replaying the game. Getting back to the combat, if it weren't for the variety of the characters, I would have probably gotten bored of this quickly. You are pretty much doing the same combos over and over, or at least it felt like I was. And I do recognize that there is some variety, but I found myself doing the exact same combos over and over again. And the worst part is, by the way, the enemies are really generic. For the most part, you're just fighting robots, and one enemy in particular made me lose my goddamn mind since they were teleporting all over the damn place. And also, by the way, speaking of the combat, there was one character in particular that didn't feel as great, and surprisingly, it was Thor. Even from the beta, Thor felt a tad bit off. His fits honestly didn't feel nearly as powerful as they should have. I will say that throwing Mjolnir was a lot of fun, but the combat just felt janky, if that makes sense. Also, the loot and the repetitive nature of the game was just a huge turnoff on my end. Even during the main missions, from time to time, Jarvis will mention that there's a strong box that you can grab for better gear, but I didn't care for grabbing the loot, especially when it was out of the way. But what makes the loot itself bad is that you can see that there's some design to it, but when you equip the different looking loot, it doesn't show up on your character that you're playing as. Although, here's the thing, guys. The loot itself didn't look that much different from one another. Now, sure, you can definitely change the Avengers' costumes, but I just kept them the way that they looked. But my question is, why even have a loot system with different looking loot, sort of, when you can't even see the loot on the Avenger that you're playing as? And when it came to upgrading it, all I did was just hold one of the trigger buttons to have the better version. It just felt like that this particular part of the game was just really uninspired. Now, when it comes back to the graphics, the game looks decent to good, but there are times when it looks bad, and I mean bad. Sometimes character models just do not look good, particularly Stark's character model. It just looked generic, and also the draw distance can be terrible too. And one more thing is that at times when there are a lot of things on the screen, the game would have bad frame rate drops. A couple of times, actually one time in particular, I thought I was actually going to crash, it dropped that badly. Also, when it comes to the villains, I loved that they used Taskmaster and MODOK, but Taskmaster just felt like he was in there just so you could have another villain there. And while MODOK was cool, don't get me wrong, I just didn't really get into him as much. However, I will say there was one part involving MODOK that involved something else, and the potential in this one particular sequence was amazing, but it ended rather quickly, and I thought there could have been so much more done with this part. I mean, I don't know, guys. Just given the talent behind this game, I feel like this game could have, and it should have been so much better than it actually was. Other than that, guys, overall, Marvel's Avengers, did I have fun with this game? Yes and no, but slightly more yes than no. The game has a great story, terrific voice acting, some great combat, and the graphics did look good for the most part. But unfortunately, with my issues, I was disappointed by this one. This could have, and it should have been, so much better than it actually was. All in all, I'm going to give Marvel's Avengers a 5.5 out of 10. It was originally a 6 out of 10, but the more that I kept thinking about it, the more I kept asking myself one important question. Does this game have lasting appeal to me? And that was a big No. I mean, honestly, I would say maybe get the game when it's on sale between $20 to $30, but otherwise, guys, save your money for the time being. Alrighty guys, so that is going to do it for my review of Marvel's Avengers. Please comment down, let me know below, what did you guys think? Did you guys like it? Did you hate it? Or did you feel about it? Let me know below. If you guys want to follow me on social media, I'm on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and Twitch. I'm also on Snapchat and Stardust, so if you guys want to follow me on all those social media platforms, all the links in the museums are in the description below. I hope you guys enjoyed my review of Marvel's Avengers. If so, please hit that like button, also subscribe, and don't forget to hit that notification bell whenever the latest video of mine goes live. If you guys want to see any of my previous 2 videos, please click on the left or right side of the screen. And of course, until my next review, I will see you guys next time.
I really love being shot at with my own weapon.
We'll keep you updated, and Goose is fine.
Ah, I didn't know you were listening to that part. You'd think these idiots would be running away by now.